Joint Special Operations Command. That's the same group that hunted down and killed Osama bin Laden. The Washington Post reporting that that group, called JSOC, will now be allowed to track and potentially carry out attacks on terrorist cells and leaders almost wherever they are. Robert Simcox is in Washington. He's a counterterrorism analyst at the Heritage Foundation and joins us now. Robin, first off, let's say we detect a terrorist cell or a leader planning an attack somewhere. Why is this new plan an improvement from the protections that we have now?
Well, I think part of it is rebranding. There is an element of that, but I think it's just expanding the scope of what America can do and the legal abilities for it to carry out some of these operations across the world. I mean, we have to remember groups like ISIS, Al-Qaeda, the primary groups that threaten American homeland today. They're transnational. They operate across boundaries and they have no problem and it's part of what makes them very effective. If America wants a equally effective response, it too needs to be able to operate across borders, and that means going into countries in the Middle East and Africa which are possibly failed or failing states and carrying out operations in order to protect Americans here at home.
I mean, we've seen that, and we've seen the droning and the drones taking out terrorist leaders, especially the social media guys who are behind ISIS. I mean, that is really incredibly impressive that they're able to do that. But what you're saying, this is expanding that to other areas of the globe, not necessarily just in Iraq, Syria, and Libya.
Well, yes, because you have to think of the threat today. Of course we have Iraq, of course we have Syria, and of course we have Libya. But think of the situation in Afghanistan, in Pakistan, in Yemen, Nigeria, Somalia. I mean, the Islamic Maghreb in the Sahel. Al-Qaeda has a franchise there. So the threats facing America today are so diverse. They're across so many parts of the globe. And America cannot just play defense in terms of trying to stop the attack, the threat when it's come to America's borders. It needs to be proactive. It needs to take the fight to Al-Qaeda and ISIS, wherever it may be.
You know, talk about Pakistan, for example, and we've taken out terrorists there. And of course, you know, famed controversy over whether Pakistan knew about Osama bin Laden and knew about our raid. I mean, what do we do if if we identify someone and we go to another nation and say that we want to have this military operation? Do we just do it anyway, or do we have to get the permission?
Well, ideally, I think you would have the permission. I mean, with the case with drones in Pakistan, for example, Pakistan essentially turned a blind eye to this and sort of feigned outrage publicly that these things were taking place, as did the situation in Yemen. But in reality, it sort of had given the Americans tacit approval to do precisely exactly that kind of operation. I think ideally you would have the permission, and you would have the agreement, and you would have the acquiescence of the host nation in question. But of course, if it's a critical, imminent threat and the US needs to act to be able to save lives, either in the US or its allies across the world, I think you have to say that America would need to act unilaterally in that kind of situation.
And quickly, Ramzi Youssef, let me bring him up for a moment, because he's the nephew of Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, mastermind behind 9/11. 1993, the Bojinka plot to take down 11 airliners over the Pacific. He was caught, and it broke up in the Philippines. So would he be a prime example of a terrorist leader planning something who was taken out and captured not, in the Middle East, but in the Philippines?
Well, absolutely. And here's the thing. America needs to be able to, it will be able to rely on its partner nations in some examples. As ISIS disperses, goes around the globe, some of its leaders will go to countries where there is counterterrorism capacity, like Europe, and regions like Europe. But there are going to be failed and failing states where ISIS retreat to that make it harder, that don't have the authorities, don't have the strength to be able to arrest and control a terrorist threat. That's where the US needs to be able to operate, and I hope that this plan enables them to do so.
Well, hopefully, if they run, they cannot hide. Robert Simcox of the Heritage Foundation, thank you, and we will be right back.